Hello, everyone! Welcome to the Chaotic Wholesome Talk Show. I am one of your hosts, Kay Purcell, and I am here with a slightly unhinged, slightly ill, but powering through it, David Lee. David, who the heck is you? And what is we doing here?
Hi, I'm David. This is the Chaotic Wholesome Talk Show, where every week we talk about TTRPG stuff, the good and the bad, how to be a better player, how to be a better...
And there was much rejoicing.
How to be a better person. Yes, we can tell you how to do that. All with a focus on intersectionality and inclusivity so that we can all have a good time.
Those might be more words than you've said all day today, David.
It's quite literally more words than I've said all day.
Oh no! I did the shout out wrong. Why? Because I suck. Because I suck. We've already got some friends hanging out in chat. It is great to see you all. Welcome on in. Like I said, I'm Kay. I do a lot of TTRPG stuff, and I was just on a thing we'll talk about, Mercy Road, which was by the amazing Saucefire. 24-hour charity D&D stream where we raised $5,300 last my count. It might actually be more because donation links are still open. I mean, I did another stream immediately after Mercy Road. I literally logged off Mercy Road, wiped off the green lipstick, put on regular lipstick, and hopped onto Carrie's channel. So, you know. You can find me every other Wednesday on the Emergency Power podcast. You can find me here on Tuesdays with David, and on Thursdays I tend to stream Pokemon or other super fun games. What was so cool? Are you seeing the new shoutouts for the first time, Tilstra? Because that's not me. That's Twitch. That's Twitch doing a thing that doesn't suck. But yes, welcome on in. I have to wait a little bit longer for the next one. Welcome on in, everyone. Thank you for hanging out with us. So, let me be very clear. This stream is going to contain spoilers for the D&D movie. We love you all. We are so happy you want to hang out. We love it when you show up. However, we don't want to spoil you unless you don't care about spoilers. I know I have certain friends who are like, I don't care. So if you have not seen the D&D movie, and you do not want to be spoiled, it is a very good time to depart. We are also going to be discussing a couple other things today. David wants to ask about Mercy Road, in which some amazing people, including David Tilstra and Candace the Magnificent, were part of.
And Rex, because I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch Rex.
And Rex ate and drank all of the things. And we're also going to discuss, because this is going to be a fun discussion because there's very little information out there, but Wizards of the Coast just had a D&D Creator Summit. And TLDR, it clearly did not quite go the way that Wizards planned. Some bad things happened. Some good things happened. And we will discuss.
Also, Twitter just told me that over 40,000 people are tweeting at Niantic about Pokemon Go.
Yeah, Niantic is removing a whole lot of features that make it much more playable for accessible, removing a lot of accessibility features. They were not intended as accessibility features. They were intended to keep people playing during the pandemic. And Niantic's like, well, the pandemic is over, so we're just going to make it so you have to go literally put your nose to any landmark which has a Pokestop or a gym to it, or else you can't interact with it. And people are like, hey, guess what? That sucks. And they're like, hey, it used to be remote raids. You could invite anyone on your friends list to a remote raid. Now it's like you can only invite people to remote raids if they're within a certain distance of you to the remote. And it's just...
I feel like, and this is a joke that has been said many times, but I feel like the Pokemon Company is like, please go outside. Because...
Well, it's not the Pokemon Company. This is Niantic. Let's just be very clear.
But like, you have the original games, and then they split them up into two franchises where you have to go and meet somebody in person to be like, okay, give me that Pokemon and I'll give you this Pokemon. And then like later on, I forget which Nintendo Game Boy DS thing had Wi-Fi where you could go and like you don't have to like plug into each other's things. And then it was like Pokemon Go, no, please go outside. We're begging you to go outside. And it's just like, the Pokemon Company wants you to be active out in the world.
No, now the Pokemon Company wants you to sleep. Pokemon Sleep was announced. It's going to actually be a thing.
Wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
Finally, a Pokemon game I can be good at.
But here's the thing. They have the worst named accessory in the world for it. They're releasing a new... So for Pokemon Go, you get the Pokemon Go Plus. And that would let you do things. They have a new improved one which will work with Pokemon Sleep and let you throw blue and black balls in... I know, in Pokemon Go. It's called the Pokemon Go Plus Plus. One of the pluses is written out and one of them is a plus.
For those of us who have been to a adult novelty store, this really sounds like something you would find on one of those racks. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Snorlax is the mascot for that game, yes. They want you to take either your Pokemon Go Plus Plus or your phone, turn on Pokemon Sleep, put it under your pillow, like on your mattress, so that it can feel how much you toss and turn.
That feels like that's collected too much information about me.
It's going to be an interesting thing. But David has several things he dislikes. Now, let's start with the disclaimer first. Again, warning, if you are just coming into the stream, we're about to discuss the D&D movie. There will be spoilers here. So if you do not want spoilers for the D&D movie, kindly leave and save yourself. We both enjoyed the movie. I'm not saying it's movie of the year. Not saying it's Lord of the Rings.
I was just going to say it's not Lord of the Rings.
But it's solid. It's fun.
A movie.
I had a good time. David had a couple pretty solid complaints. We got the gamer lean, y'all. We got the gamer lean into the rant.
So Hasbro. Hasbro has been making films for more than 30 years. Like, anyone who saw Transformers the movie back circa 1986, like, that is how I learned about death. And as some of you may know, I worked in transcription for film for many years. I, among many other people in the Los Angeles area, and the Vancouver area, and many other places in the world, was a below-the-line employee. And so you won't see my name in the credits, but I've worked on movies you've seen. Muting for spoilers. Can I ask you to change the title when you are... Rex says, muting for spoilers. Can I ask that you change the title when you are done with the D&D spoilers to let me know? We absolutely will
do. No problem.
Oh my God, it's
hey,
Candace. So, when movies are made, they interview people. They interview special effects people, they interview Foley people, they interview costume designers. If you have not watched the interviews with the costume designer on Black Panther 1 and 2, please go do that. She's brilliant. I think she's won at least one Oscar. And I think she's the only black person to have won a certain set of... Anyway, the point is, she's brilliant. She's like Colleen Atwood level of costume designer. If you don't know who Colleen Atwood is, go Google it. She's the one who made what's the name of the guy who takes credit for the movies that are made by people that aren't him? Tim Burton. Because fun fact, and I know this is going off the rails, but listen, I'm a little sick. I'm not on many drugs
tonight.
Here we go.
Also, Candace says Ruth Carter.
Ruth Carter, yes. The Nightmare Before Christmas. Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas was not directed by Tim Burton. No one. The biggest fans I've talked to of the movie can tell you who directed that movie. It's the director. And everybody's like, but Tim Burton. And I'm like, listen. There was a Tim Burton exhibit at LACMA, which thankfully is right down the street. So I went. I paid the $40 to go see this stupid. And you go in there, and it's two things. It's Tim Burton's high school scribbles. Literally, they have like notebooks from when he was in high school and sat in the back of chemistry class and drew stupid things. I could put that in a museum. It was that and other people's work. Now, if you ever have opportunity to go see it, please go see it, because some of the stuff that they featured is brilliant, including a bunch of Colleen Atwood's costumes. Yeah, Candace says, "Oh no, I heard the exhibit is garbage." The exhibit is garbage. However,
there's some cool notes to it. Also, thank you for the resub, Steven, and I absolutely understand. Please go hide from spoilers. You gotta wrap this up and get back, because we got people who want to come back and hang out, so we got to get past the movie.
So, you sit down, you watch the movie, and then there's this gray splash screen with the title of the movie in the bottom right-hand corner, with like the dragon trying to burst through. Really cool. I'm glad they spent $50,000 or however much that cost to render that. But why? And then right after that, there's another splash screen with the title of the movie. It's like, listen, I saw the trailer online, and then I went online and I bought the ticket, and then I showed up and I was like, hey, what theater is the D&D movie in? And they're like, oh, it's Theater 11, there you go. And then I sat down and watched a bunch of trailers and thought, oh man, I'm excited about this D&D movie. You don't have to keep telling me what movie up. And then right after that, then they have the most awkward like press recording in the history of these recordings, because you have the little segment where it's like all the cast who are sitting around and going, thank you for coming to an actual movie theater and watching this instead of pirating it at home. They didn't say the pirating part, but like that's what's implied. It's like, listen, we know you could have just stolen this online or waited 2 weeks to pay $7 to watch it on Amazon Prime or whatever. We're glad that you came to the movie theaters to see it. But for one, the copy on that, the we're not heroes, you are heroes. Absolute fucking tripe. Terrible. Dog. And then you could tell that it was tacked on at the end of a long day, that they ambushed the actors with it and didn't give them any time to review it. And then whoever was running it, they didn't even tell them what camera to look at. And so you have Hugh Grant, who has been acting for like 40 years, who definitely knows what he's doing. Who has pulled in like Michael Bay levels of money in his movies. Looks like he's reading with his finger. Like, just like, and I want to thank you. Looking in the wrong camera. And the only person with any life whatsoever, the only person who doesn't look like they're lost in a Walmart, is Chris Pine, because he's going off book and ad-libbing and trying to add something to this to make it not seem like an intern wrote it. And it's just like, having seen, and I was telling Kay before the show, I've literally sat down and transcribed dozens, if not hundreds of these things, and it is the worst one I've ever seen. And you can tell it's take 1 or 2, and they're like, ah, well, we got it. No, you didn't get it. And it would have been so much easier to just, like, during the individual interviews, have them all read the same piece of copy, and then cut them all together so it looks like everybody was. There are so many different ways they could have. Anyway, Hasbro, I need you to do better. You've been making movies for like 40 years. Do better than this. Yeah.
So coming off that rant, I am just gonna squee and fangirl about the fat dragon. Because I'm not gonna lie, I looked at the fat dragon and I'm like, that's a giant moment. That is Mo, the mint dragon, only giant and meaner. Mo is much nicer than that. But I've dropped into chat my favorite piece of fan art that I've seen thus far out of the D&D movie, and the fat dragon is just joy. Hey D2, welcome on in. D2 the Rock was also part of Mercy Road. Yes, I loved the fat dragon. I agree with Candace, the movie was not nearly as gay as it should have been. Like, it was D&D. How was everyone not a raging bisexual?
So the one, so there were a couple of gross inaccuracies in it, and one of them is the fact that the bard didn't try to sleep with absolutely everyone.
That is fair.
Like, they boot up the movie and they're like, "Oh man, the bard, he's got a wife," and I'm like, "Mm-mm, mm-mm."
I mean, they could still have an open relationship, right? Like, but
they could, but
they definitely didn't.
And then also when they were fighting a dragon, there wasn't that like right. And I don't need necessarily like a role for seduction, but I do need like a moment of like Chris Pine looks and is terrified, and then looks and is like and then looks and is terrified again and is like maybe later, like
yeah.
Just they could have put that in.
Yeah, 2 queer actors at least, but like no actual queer. Like, there should have been something between Hugh Laurie's character and Chris Pine's character.
Can we talk about how Hugh Grant absolutely
I'm sorry, Hugh Grant, not Hugh Laurie. Wrong Hugh.
Like, you could tell he was having the time of his life. You could tell that when they asked him to do the movie, they're like, "Listen, we need you to play a scumbag, but like worse. It's like, we need you to be like a cartoon carnival salesman. Like, we need you to sell snake oil." And he's like, and you could tell he went out there and like did a thing, and they're like, "Need you to turn that way up." And he's like,
turn it up to 11.
And he's like, you sure? He's like, "Listen, we understand that you are a respected actor. We don't need any of that here."
Yes. Well, and I don't know if you watched any of the promotional material around the D&D movie. I did not intend to. I kept accidentally watching it for various reasons. But they did a hilarious, like everyone walked in knowing he was going to be a bad guy, right? Like, I don't think anyone walked in and looked at it and went, "No, he might be okay." They did a whole shtick. I don't know if you can hear my neighbor's child, but the child is very loud. They made action figures of his character, and then they did a whole shtick filming where he's like, "I got presents for the whole cast," and he gives everyone in the cast a wrapped present, and they unwrap it, and it's the action figure of his character. And I'm like,
someone understood the assignment.
Yes. Yes, the tiefling was definitely queer-coded with Saving the Forest Cutie. I think most of y'all know I like tieflings. It's a problem. It's a thing. I identify as queer, and I like tieflings. I really enjoyed the tiefling's design. I wish they'd given her like freaky eyes. I understand why they don't do freaky eyes in movies and TV because it's difficult to do well. I have a few complaints. Her tail was very good in most scenes, but a lot of scenes her tail was a little bit stiff, and I'm like, just it's a tail. Just make the tail do the thing. But I really like tiefling tails. It's a problem. I am not a furry. If anyone would know if I'm a furry, it's me. I just really like tails.
Here's the thing.
I'm furry light.
I saw a post on Twitter, and it was like, "Hey, queer people, show us your tiefling," and then immediately everyone was just like, "Boom!"
No. It was, "Hey, queer D&D TikTok. What color is your tiefling?"
Right.
There was a big lady little dude thing. I loved the reveal of the huge barbarian being with the halfling.
Bradley Cooper nailed it. Scumbag nailed it.
David sent me that. Connie Chang's reply. David was like, "Connie Chang sees you."
Right.
Connie sees you. I really enjoyed the very obvious DNPC character. Like that paladin, 200% DNPC, and that was Joy. I'm like, I know what's happening there. I also don't want him to leave. But okay, Mr. Bridgerton.
Right. I was like, where'd they find this handsome man? Also, I love how he was coded just a little bit autistic, where it's just like, what is sarcasm? I've never heard of this.
I feel like it was... I enjoyed that because it was a different take on it, right? But Dax in Dax in Guardians of the Galaxy is definitely that, except they fucked it up in Guardians of the Galaxy because at one point he calls Grimara, I forget her name, he calls her a whore, and I'm like, he doesn't get metaphor, and he has never seen her sleep with a person for money. So he would not say that. You've ruined this character now. Didn't do it this time.
Fair.
They did fridge the wife.
Fridge the wife?
They killed off the wife. The whole story revolves around the dead wife.
Yeah, and I will say, I was like, the first person to die in this movie was a black person and a black woman. Like, come on now. Come on, meow. But interracial relationship. So, they're halfway there.
Yep.
And I was going to take pot shots at the casting for the daughter, just in terms of like how mixed she looks, except I got cousins that look like her, so we're not gonna go there.
Once again, we have like the interracial relationship, and the Simon the Wild Magic Sorcerer was the lead in Detective Pikachu, which is an interracial relationship story. Spoiler alert.
I mean, is Licky Tongue white? No. Yeah. Woof.
Mr. Mime sure is.
I have so many things to say about Mr. Mime, and so many ways in which I would kink shame him, except he would like all of them.
So would Ash's mom.
Yeah. And I know a dude who is dressed as Mr. Mime, not at a convention, and I will leave that there. Just put that in. But one day
Jinx is a problem. Jinx is a big problem. Continue, David.
Jinx is a whole conversation, because I will give Jinx one thing. Two things. One,
$20
something
we're talking about a different Jinx.
Jinx from League of Legends.
Nope, we're talking about the Jinx from Pokemon. That's why I said $20. We're about to have a different conversation.
True. Okay, so one thing I really liked with the Bradley Cooper as a halfling reveal is Michelle Rodriguez plays a barbarian who gets angry, who rages, and she goes back to her man who divorced her by mail, like sent her a Dear John letter, and doesn't twist his head off like a Lego figurine. Is just sad about it. And I'm like, any other like 99% of people would have had her like destroy the place, rip up things, fight the new wife, squeeze off his little like crush him like a go-gurt, and so on. But like she was like, you know what, I can do better, and then left. Especially considering the fact that like she turned her back on her society to be with him, and then this little son of a bitch. Listen, men, I'm gonna need you to do better.
The new girlfriend being even bigger than her was just mwah.
Yep.
Man knows what he likes. I respect it.
It's like, listen, stay toxic, kings. But also, how do you say no to Michelle Rodriguez? Like, how?
As I've said, I am extremely gay for everyone in that movie, and I really don't understand how that works.
Super fair. There are other things about the movie, and I just had a brownout, just like a full-on, like, lights went dim, lights came back up.
Holga found a new halfling at the end. Do I remember that?
Yeah, she did. So they're at the scene where they're in like the tree tavern when the dude from Detective Pikachu makes another run at the tiefling.
Okay,
and
yes.
During that sequence.
Yes, the armpit hair was a surprise and awesome. That was very... I'm like, are they actually... They are actually. Like, there was... Again... And we gonna get real interesting here in a minute, but like D&D has some representation problems with it. And there's some spicy things, but like they just went like, okay, here's a whole spectrum of people, and here's a chick with armpit hair, and I'm like, yes, thank you. The interrogation scene, the speak with dead scene, was and how long that took, and that was joy. Yes, very
especially
tender.
At the end when the dude is still like sitting there, we're like, so
yeah.
And if he's not the villain in the next movie, or at least one of the villains in the next movie, then it's a missed opportunity. Do
you know what I want for the sequel? Do you know all that I want for the sequel? I want a different setting. Whatever carryover is, it's an entirely different set of characters, but all the same actors.
So I
it's the
I
next
went
campaign. It's the same people, but the next campaign.
So I went to see it with a friend of mine, and walking out of the theater, he said, "You know what they should do?" And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Should have all those actors and those characters in the next movie, but they're not the main characters. They're just NPCs that the new people interact with." And I was just like,
yes.
That's brilliant. That's real brilliant.
Yes.
What?
What is David looking so confused about?
There's an NBA 2K league sponsored by Coinbase. Why? Dear
okay.
Twitch, what about the history of this channel, of my viewing right here, says that this is what I want to see? Anyway, back to the movie.
Did anyone say they have a dark they have dark vision? I didn't know there was no dark vision comment. But there was a lot of a lot of the kind of almost fourth wall breaking moments were like absolutely like when the DMPC left the party and they're like, is he just gonna keep walking? What's gonna happen? Like a lot of the conversation absolutely and the planning absolutely felt like people around a table sitting around and talking. And the interrogation scene, the speak with dead scene was just mwah. The first 10 minutes of the sequel needs to be the PCs trying and failing to meet up until someone's other plans fall through. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Again, I didn't think it was movie of the year. I thought it was a cool movie. I had a lot of fun with it. I can't say there were any twists that surprised me. I felt like everything was pretty clearly telegraphed.
Yep.
But it was fun.
Also, and I don't normally comment on this just because. So let me lead with the fight scene at the end was really good.
Yeah.
Like it was, and they did a good job of like sticking stuff in that D&D people would recognize without trying to do too much.
Yeah.
And like that's what I like, especially like DC movies. They're like, hey, you recognize this? Ooh, like we know you nerds are out there. We're never going to talk about this again. It's not going to matter, and we're going to ignore everything from the comic books. But this is here. Isn't that cool? And they really didn't like didn't do that, which I appreciate. But like the way they use the gelatinous cube, and like it wasn't just that there was a mimic in there, but there was actually like some sort of, well, one, there was a good reason for it to be there, and two, there was like some interaction with it.
I know this will surprise everyone, but I really like the Displacer Beast, and I love Displacer Beasts because they're cats with tentacles, and I like both of those things, and I'm just really happy the Displacer Beast was awesome.
And they did a good job.
Roomba.
Listen, the Dungeon Roombas are coming. They like the whole Displacer Beast sequence. They did a really good job of making that like scary and like intimidating, and like they just, a lot of the beats in the film hit right, like when we're with the dragon, and like with the undead assassins, which cool that they included undead. And like they didn't feel the need to like justify a lot of things. So like you meet like the evil assassin dude, and you know your what is it, red, the actual villain. Yeah, the Red Wizard. So like the Red Wizard chick is like, all right, by the way, these guys are jerks, and it's like, oh, here's your kick the cat moment, or kick the dog moment. It's kick the dog, save the cat. And so he turns around, kicks the dog, and we're like, great, this guy's extra bad, and he also knows what he's doing. Great. One minuscule plot hole that I will, if the tiefling druid can wild shape into a little bug and then went on the run to get out, the second she emerged from anything resembling a building, the fact that she didn't turn into a little bug and then just go straight up into the air, like, why?
They did a nice job, and again, this tied into that, where there was like a moment in the plot where it absolutely should have been her turning into a bug and doing the thing. Except it was like, no, this is someone else's sequence. Like, they did a nice job of giving each of the main characters a little spotlight moment to show off their powers. And poor Simon trying to attune to the helmet and the just whoomp. Okay, I'm gonna try again. Whoomp.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
Yeah. Any other thoughts about the D&D movie before we move on, so that our lovely folks hanging out can come back?
I'm trying to think. I feel like I have one more point to make about the D&D film. I don't know. It's gone.
Okay. Well, it was a good time. Like, as I said before, it was not Lord of the Rings. It was not Movie of the Year. There was a giant, if you AMC theaters, you could get a giant D20 popcorn tub that I desperately wanted, except it's $35. And as much as I want a D20 popcorn tub,
it's $35.
It's $35. On a scale of 1 to D20, what would you rate it? I would rate it a solid 15.
Yeah, 14, 15 sounds about right. And ultimately my review of the film in two sentences is it was what it needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't try too hard.
Yeah.
And it hit most of the beats that you wanted it to hit.
Yep. It didn't suck. And that's the first time we can say that about a D&D movie.
Absolutely.
Go in, again, if you go in expecting Lord of the Rings, you're not going to get it. But if you go in expecting a good time, talk to your local 3D printer nerds if you need a replica. Ooh, that's good to know. Okay. I'm going to update this. David, you don't get to backtrack because we are updating the title so that Rex can come back. And that concludes this part of our discussion of the D&D movie. We're gonna move on to talk about something just a little bit more. Well, while we've got D2 here, while we've got Candace here, and Rex will hopefully be back soon, there are times that it's cool to just see a fun movie. Exactly, it's a fun movie. This is one of those movies, and I can say this because it's not a spoiler. When the movie comes out on DVD, it's gonna be one of my I need to smile movies. We got you, Rex. While you're here, David wanted to ask us about Mercy Road.
Yeah! Okay, so, full disclosure. Weekend was very busy.
That's the most energy I have seen out of David in like a month. That, right there.
So, full disclosure, I was very busy this weekend and also very tired. Who knew that I was actually getting sick, which is why I was so tired. So, when Candace was on, I popped on. When Kay was on, I popped on for like a little while. I woke up and like saw Rex at 3 o'clock in the morning because that's what the time it was for me, and was there for like 30 seconds, and I was like, okay, I typed something in chat. I'm going back to bed. So I didn't miss everything, but I missed everything. So tell me, and Candace and Rex and Jester, I know that you all were there. Tell me about your Mercy Road experiences.
Well, I got to torture Saucefire with Roxy.
And
I actually had the brilliant idea that, oh my god, I'm a trusted enough creator now that Twitch doesn't take 5 ever to approve my emotes anymore. So before I went on, I added some new emotes. And for those of you who are watching on VOD and are not in chat, I now have Roxy emotes. Roxy is my half-orc paladin of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. Big, resting grump face, angry-looking Goyle, who's actually just a big nervous softie in a colander. Jester says, I also missed practically everything too. I was way too busy. I got to watch a bunch of it. I gotta say, like, the first table, I mean, we all knew that first table was gonna be freaking amazing. Tilstra, along with Herb, Jazzy Hands, Lauren, Oba Lauren, and who was the 5th? Critical Bard.
Yep.
So that table was amazing. There were a lot of amazing tables. Let's be honest. Every table had its own charm and its own greatness. Rex had 9 different glasses. Rex was just like freaking going to town. Yeah, Roxy, we hopped on the call. It was my first time playing with Chrissy in color. And Chrissy was like, I'm a nice person, please don't judge me because I'm playing a mean character. And so at one point, like Chrissy's character, Chrissy, we were trying to figure out something, trying to find an entrance, and Chrissy cast Detect Magic or something and was like, you just have to open your third eye. David, you know what's happening. Roxy leans down, gets right in her character's face, and looking for the third eye. And she's like, it's metaphorical. And Roxy's like, oh, I'm sorry, you just have really pretty eyes, so I thought it would be. She's like, it's very hard to be mad at you.
Right.
Candace says, my Mercy Road experience was amazing as well. The table was perfect. We got it so well. And seeing Merlin was such a treat. I miss Merlin. He's just such a happy little bard kitty, and he did so good, even though he was so small, and he's definitely a person.
Monkey glands. Just monkey glands.
Oh, Candace and people are so happy to see him. I cried after. Yeah, I very nearly played Trixie, just to torture Sauce with Trixie again, because Trixie's a lot. However, Tyranthosaurus was looking for someone to pair up with his character. He had an auto gnome who he wanted to have been purchased by one of the characters. So it was wonderful to torture Roxy with. There was a really pushy salesman, and I thought it was like a toy. And it's a person. I own a person. They're like alive, and they can like think and have opinions, and I own them. Whereas Trixie would have tried to disassemble the auto gnome, and I didn't want to disassemble someone else's character on a stream.
I mean, I'd pay money to watch that. That sounds like a good time.
Rex says, I have an artist friend who was making small bottles with handmade labels. And one is poison and the other is monkey glands. We'll put a pic in the Discord.
I can't wait. Because, ooh-wee, did monkey glands give me pause.
Yep, you pinged David. No, it was a very fun story. And for those of you who don't know, and I think most everyone here did, Sauce had a stomach virus on Friday and was bedridden, and then got up and DM'd for 24 hours. It gave you pause. Well done, Jedi. Posture check, David. How's your posture? Thank you, Saucefire. We were just speaking of the man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah.
Saucefire, tell us about your experience on Mercy Road.
First off, did you survive?
Red Bull gives you wings. Monkey glands gives you paws. But yeah.
Oh.
Maximum nappage is happening.
That's a good nap. That is a good nap.
It's a very good nap. Now I have to get my camera straight again. Saucefire is a ghost, a very sweepy boy.
Also, Sauce, put the Tilify link somewhere like convenient so I can find it and post it in places. Since the campaign is still going.
How long is it open for? But yes, wonderful time, great tables all around. JD, welcome on in. We have, okay, for those who are coming in, we have discussed the D&D movie. We are past the spoilers. We are not backtracking, so you are safe from that. We are wrapping up a discussion of Mercy Road. There is the link for you, David. Probably until the end of the week. Will the Tiltify campaign be open? Congratulations again, Sauce. And, did you see the Merlin cameo in Honor Among Thieves? Was that the little kitty and nope, we gotta, nope, we can't say anything else. Yes, I know what you mean now. Gotta be careful to not ruin it for our friends who have not yet gone. And we had kind of planned to just talk about the D&D movie this time around, but then something else happened, and David, I know a little bit more about it than David because I have been following threads and chasing people down, and there was a D&D Creator Summit, David, and it was the first one that WotC has done, which is a little surprising. There's been Creator Summits for quite a while among various things. And they selected a number of people, I don't know the exact number, to go in person, and then they had a virtual audience as well. Full disclosure for anyone watching, neither David nor I were part of the audience. Sasper says I'm only against the Creator Summit because I wasn't invited. You know?
Right.
Fair.
Big mood.
So there was there were people who were being very nasty towards other people in the community because they were selected to be part of the Creator Summit. There were a lot of comments like shills being thrown around, and let's be honest, a lot of it was racism. People were trying to phrase it as anything but racism, but it was a lot of very subtle and maybe unconscious bias racism. But a lot of that was going on because
aren't you very generous? Continue.
But there were a large number of creators selected to attend from minority backgrounds, which is awesome. Here's kind of where I think, David, things went wrong. WotC said, hey, we're doing a Creator Summit. We want you to attend because we are looking for feedback on 1D&D and the various things we're working on, including the virtual tabletop, etc., etc. That's kind of all they said. And when you tell that to a creator of a minority background who has strong opinions about a property which has a history of problems for people with minority backgrounds, they go in expecting a certain agenda and are very excited to get to share their opinion, to finally be able to share their opinion and to be heard. Apparently WotC wasn't actually ready for that conversation. First off, apparently WotC thought they were going to run the entire virtual side of it, not as a standalone event, but kind of like as a live stream, but everyone's still included, but a live stream. And they also did it through Microsoft Teams.
That's Microsoft, no tea, no shade. However, not the best idea.
Apparently it was so bad that a couple journalists just gave up on it from the virtual side.
Yikes.
There was no audio, I believe, for the entire morning sessions. So, it was, I believe 75% of the audience was there virtually, and they couldn't hear, had no real way to give their feedback unless someone running the teams created a poll.
Yikes.
Et cetera, et cetera. It was not a great experience for that, but again, WotC said we are looking for feedback, but apparently really what they wanted was I don't want to say media hype, that's not the right word, but they wanted a big, let's get everyone excited about 1D&D moment. And
they wanted a pat on the back.
Yeah, they and so they wanted fulsome praise. And I do think they were looking for feedback, but they were looking for feedback on very specific things. So I guess, from my understanding, they kind of started the day with anyone who was there physically got to play around with the VTT. And I guess people at home were told they'd get a demo later or something. I don't know. It's not entirely clear yet. These are still very early days for people who are watching the VOD. There has not been, at least not that I have found, and I have been looking, a complete write-up of all of this yet. However, lots of threads, lots of live tweets and some kind of Discord DM discussions that I have been fortunate to have with a few people.
So Sauce says, should have brought me in, I'm a shill. This is a very important point. I come from a place where there are two main rules. One, no snitching, which, fair. And two, don't sell out. And I've had the same opinion about this my entire life. Why not? Get the bag. Like, to anyone here, to anyone who watches this, to anyone within my reach, if you have an opportunity to get a paycheck from a major corporation and it is an adequate compensation for what they are asking, go get the bag. Because I could say whatever I want about Wizards of the Coast. If Wizards of the Coast popped into the stream right now and they're like, hey, we'll give you money to go run a stream at some place that you don't want to be. Like, you know, like, we'll go find a war zone. We'll yeah, there was a train
David's
derailment.
Like, David's like, Warzone, fight Cleveland.
Yeah, there's a hard pause there. Right, like if XC, which used to be Blackwater, or like some mercenary company is like, hey, get the bag. And I'm not saying compromise your ethics. I'm not saying do things or work with people that you don't want to work with, because there are companies that I won't work with just as a matter of principle. However, if Hasbro calls me up and says, hey, let's get the bag. It's hard enough in this world for us poor people, and by poor people I mean anyone who's not in like the 1 million richest people on earth. The rest of us, it's hard to make money. And to get paid doing the things you love, to get paid to create, to get paid to share your expertise on things that you're passionate about, go get the money.
Yep.
And anybody who wants to disparage you, direct them to me, because I will set them straight. Because it's not fair and it's not right.
Jester Jedi says, so the D&D company had a campaign plan and it went off the rails and people got involved.
Right.
Go figure.
Yeah, that's fair. It's super fair.
So, I guess, so they did a half-hour play around with the VTT hype thing, and then they did a couple other panels, I guess, and then they were like, okay, now we're going to come back and we're going to do, I believe it was an hour-and-a-half presentation on the virtual tabletop. And by this point, I guess several creators were upset and frustrated because this was not what they came here to do. This was not their expectation. They wanted to... thank you for hanging out, Jester. Take care. This was not what they were here to do. This was not what they had planned. They were not being heard, and they were getting emotional upset because they came there with an agenda, as they should. And we're in the hall discussing, and I don't have 100% confirmation on this, but I believe it was either Dixon or LaToya. I believe it was Dixon with LaToya backing up. I am hunting these details. But they were discussing, they were upset, they were clearly upset, and a WotC person, again, who I believe is Dixon, I might be wrong, approached them and were like, what's wrong? Why are you upset? What do you need? What can we do? And they basically explained that, like, I came here, you know, to talk about things that are important to me, and this is not what I came here to do. So this WotC employee apparently went up and convinced their superiors, the higher-ups, to run a 30-minute AMA with Jeremy Crawford and other higher-ranking people at Wizards of the Coast. At this point, there was a tone shift, because apparently up until now, it had been the typical people that you would expect to be at a D&D thing, asking the typical questions that you would expect of people of that background and experience asking at a D&D thing. Now it was minorities who were asking questions, and they were asking the hard questions, and they were not letting people shrug off the answers. Candace says a lot of white attendees name dropping Dixon, but almost no one mentioned Latia by name, and that bums me out. Yeah, I'm still like, I know Latia would have. I don't know if Latia was on. I don't know. I'm hunting this down. Latia is incredible. So now, let me be very clear. This is a conversation that I'm very glad happened. Should have happened. It should have been planned. It shouldn't have blindsided them. It also sucks that these folks were not necessarily blindsided, but not prepared for this conversation. Because when someone is not correctly prepared, and that doesn't just mean mentally, that means having researching the kind of questions that they will be asked, the right kind of answers. And I don't mean right kind of answers as in like shill answers, whatever they want to hear answers, but it is very easy to misspeak and make a situation worse if you are not absolutely prepared for that. So I wish that this had been planned and people had been more prepared, simply because you don't want people to get defensive when they shouldn't be. You don't want people to be throwing out flailing answers, right? You want them to be sincere. You want them to answer honestly, but you also don't want them to panic, say what they think they need to say the wrong thing, make it worse. From what I can tell, obviously these were not recorded, or not recorded that I've seen. So it sounds like that did not happen, at least. That did not make it worse in that way.
Having been a part of hard conversations with representatives of larger companies. So for one, you don't shoot the messenger. And Kay, as a near lifelong community manager, you understand that better than most. I've
only been shot a few times.
Right. And to your therapists, I say I'm sorry. At least the ones that survived. But when interfacing with these people, it's important that they have some sort of like prep, some way to prepare for these hard conversations, because even with that prep, oftentimes the right answer that they can give you is I don't know.
Yeah.
Except being on the other end of that, it's very, very hard to hear I don't know. And for those of us who advocate for and who necessitate change, especially from privately owned corporations, there's this lack of trust in hearing I don't know, because so often that has been used as a way to brush off these concerns. So corporations need to do a better job of being more earnest and trustworthy in their I don't knows, so that we as the people who need answers to these questions can be more comfortable in trusting and embracing that I don't know.
Yeah, the I don't know should have a follow-up. I don't know. I will find out and get back to you. I don't know, but we will address this in a and then that follow through. Anyhow, so questions got asked, things got heated. It was apparently very emotionally charged. There were tears, there were shaking. I was just about to type that, yes. Dabbing in the middle of this serious conversation. Thank you, Saucefire. So after a half an hour, which, again, the half-hour AMA was nowhere on the agenda. Sauce, you're a menace. Was nowhere on the agenda. They tried to shut it down after half an hour, and people in the audience, physically in the audience, were like, nah, we're not done. And I guess WotC really tried to shut it down and said, well, you're not the only ones who count. We're going to ask the virtual audience, too. Hey! Welcome on in from Afar Podcast. So they apparently put it to a vote, and overwhelmingly, the remote audience also voted, no, keep going.
I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me.
Exactly. So I think my favorite comment about it was, make no mistake, the audience just took WotC's agenda and ripped it to confetti. And it apparently stretched for over an hour. I don't know exactly how long. And again, I do not know everything that was asked and answered in that. I know one of the big pushes was a begging WotC to reconsider the bioessentialistic nature of D&D. That is to say, all orcs get a +2 to strength and a -2 to intelligence. Again, pressing D&D, like, yes, species is a better term than race, but it is still not good. Do better. So, though I believe that was the majority of the focus of that part, again, I don't know. Keep an eye out. There are multiple people, from Gabe Hicks to Josh Simmons. I know that our friend of the channel, D'Angelo, was there virtually. And basically our friend of the channel, the Dr. B was there. Basically every single person who has commented about this on Twitter is like, that was a lot. I have thoughts. I need to sit. I need to process, and I need to put them together correctly. So once again, the power of community is being proven, and I know Dixon was part of this. I believe LaToya was part of this. I'm waiting to find out who all, but shout out all of the love to the employees at WotC. I'm still waiting to hear who all was involved in this push, who convinced the higher-ups that no, an AMA is more important than another hour and a half with the virtual tabletop. This is what people came here for. And look, for those of you who don't know, community managers are very low down on the totem pole. Community managers often find things out at the same time as the community they manage. That's never happened to me before.
Yep. Or you find out something from the community. That's always fun.
So being in that position and standing up and saying, no, we need Jeremy Crawford to come here and stand in front of these people and answer these questions. That is a terrifying thing to do from a personal and a career point of view. So shout out to everyone at WotC who did that. You are heroes, and we love and appreciate you.
And two things. One, having a face of an actual decision maker get out in front and say something is a big deal. Like speaking of the gaming industry, say what you will about Todd Howard, say what you will about No Man's Sky, and the guy who ran No Man's Sky, whose name I'm blanking on, Jeff Kaplan, when he was the head of the Overwatch team at Blizzard. Like, you could tweet these people on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
They would be in places where you could sit in an audience and be like, yo, this is a grievance I have. And they didn't always have the answer that you wanted, per se, but
it was an answer.
It was an answer. And at the very least, you know that you're not talking to some talking head. You're not talking to someone who has no sway, who's like the bottom rung of the ladder. Like, if you're yelling at Todd Howard, don't yell at Todd Howard. I hear he's a nice guy. But, you know, if you're yelling at these people, you know that the words are getting into their ears. And that matters. That matters a lot. And to speak a language that Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro understand, there's money to be made here. Like, when so like Curse of Strahd, like when you just change the racist names to not racist names, you could go, hey, we printed a new edition of Curse of Strahd. We added a couple of things, we fixed a couple of things, and all the people who love Curse of Strahd are going to go out and buy it. All the people who stayed away from Curse of Strahd because it was problematic, well, not all of them, but some of them are now going to go buy it. Like,
also, instead of Curse of Strahd, just play She is the Ancient. Just get She is the Ancient. That's all.
Right. Like, you could sell a whole new range of 5e books just by going, hey, we updated this language to not be shitty. Mm-hmm. And it's like, are you really saying no to more sales? Because so many other problems that we've talked about here, that other people have talked about on Twitter, are not hard fixes. Like you know what? Like the legal team isn't going to go, wait, you changed the word from species to like heritage or something else? Nah, man, that's going to cost you millions. Like, no. And I think a lot of the complaints that creators have, and a lot of complaints that, you know, your home audience has, is that no one's asking you to reinvent the wheel. We're just saying, do these easy things that are easy fixes, and then you'll make more money. Like Wizards, to quote Futurama, shut up and take my money.
And to be fair, a lot of things that are being brought up by these creators, yeah, like, and that's part of the issue, though, is that it was like, also from afar, yes, charity game tomorrow, it's going to be awesome, and good luck on your podcast today. We also have to hold people accountable when they are doing the quick and easy fix, which is part of what this was about. They said, okay, race is a bad term, we get it. Fine. We're going to call it species. It's like, okay, but that doesn't fix the...
Right.
Like, that is, you know, the bare minimum that, and the thing that Paizo has been doing for a long time. Paizo doesn't have races. Paizo has species. And that's it. I was discussing this with someone at work, and they said, so what do the creators want? Right? Like, what's their demand? And it's like, there's no demand. There's no, here's 10 things to fix and we'll be happy. This isn't our problem to solve. This is your product, right? This is how the product is harming us. We might have some ideas or some suggestions, but you've got to fix your shit. And if you want me to fix your shit, if you want a minority creator to fix your shit, pay them.
Right.
It's very simple to get a minority creator to fix your shit. Pay them.
And whatever number you immediately thought of, add a 0 on it. But yeah, it's like, it goes back to the whole like emotional labor thing. So like, for one, emotional labor isn't emotional labor, it's project management. Like, let's get out in front of that. But it's not our job to run your company for you for free. It's not our job to get a product and then essentially like alpha test it and then send it back to you like it's in early access and then go, here are all the fixes that you make. Like, this isn't a Bethesda game. We're not here to mod it until it works right. And yeah, Sauce Fair says, I'm not a consultant. You want me to fix your product? Pay me. Candace says they should send everyone a free PDF and offer the physical books for sale. It was their mistake. Right. And PDFs don't cost anything to produce. Like, they don't cost anything to distribute. You already got a server or a network of servers that the point is, they know that they have problems. They know that they have elements of their product that are problematic. It should not, the onus shouldn't be on us to fix it. It's on Wizards to fix it.
And here's the thing that's truly befuddling to me is that everything you said they shouldn't have to do, people are already doing. Connie, like, Gabe Hicks made the whole alternative ancestries and heritage system, which he sells through itch.io, I think, or Drive-Thru. I think it's Drive-Thru DM's Guild, one of those. Connie Chang has done a whole bunch of fixes for Transplanar, right? Minority creators have taken 5e and gone, here's some problems, here's some fixes. Wizards, you've got a blueprint. Wizards has to know what the problems are because they've seen so many people fix it in different ways. Go look at the supplements created by your by your creator community. And then come to the table educated. Come to the table being able to speak to, you did this. Why? What did it fix? What needs to be more? That's how you have this conversation. And Steven says it's not like ordinary folks haven't put hours into fixing their problems, working around them and providing high quality feedback. They know the problems were, and they were just handed the answers. Exactly.
And also, if you're lazy and you don't want to spend a whole lot of like energy on it, how hard is it to go find Connie and give them a bag of money and be like, you see this? You made this? I made this. Like, the meme is right there already. And you know what? If there were enough zeros on that check, Connie'd be like, Wizards made this.
I made it. Now Wizards made it.
Right.
Candace says 100% show people they're serious about fixing the racism, sexism, anti-Semitism they've pushed for decades. They lose no money sending a PDF, but outwardly they look like they care. Steven says it's not even a big bag by their standards. Yeah,
and it's gone.
But yeah, there are so many, and it's what befuddles me. And I love D&D. I do like I know many people who work at Wizards of the Coast, and I genuinely believe that at least, I don't even know if I want to say most, I know that there are people higher up within Wizards of the Coast who genuinely care about this game, who care about diversity, who care about all of these things, who genuinely want to put out good, fun, inclusive products. Some of them don't know how, right? Look, Kay of 15 years ago could not speak intelligently about half the shit I talk about on this show. I don't even speak about half of it intelligently now, let's be fair. But like, I grew up in a space where it was like, it wasn't even I don't see color. It was taboo to say someone is black or Mexican or whatever their race was. You had to, like, you could say it, but you had to be like, black. Like, that was my upbringing. So I understand, I'm not excusing, right? But I understand white people who come from primarily white places, who've had very little interaction with non-white people, not having the tool set to have these discussions, but that's on them to fix.
And Wizards is very, very fortunate, because think about how many industries, especially like in entertainment, where entire swaths of people boycott their product because, you know, it's problematic for a number of different reasons, and yet there's this minority and queer community that's like, it's problematic, but we really want to love it a lot, like, because it would be a very different story if everyone who is queer, everyone who is minority, everybody who the problematic parts of D&D impacted were like, nope, done. And honestly, you would see a massive drop in engagement, because while, like, you know, your average person may not necessarily care about queer representation or minority representation the way we do, there's this subconscious understanding and interaction thereof. Like, golf is a great example. Golf was and is a bunch of old white guys hitting a ball around too much grass. And then Tiger Woods showed up. And all of a sudden, the revenue that the PGA got tripled, just because there was someone different. Just because there was someone different who was good. Like in esports arena, like, think about how many, like, all-girl teams, or like how big a deal it was when the first, you know, girl joined a particular team in a particular game. Like, these were big watershed moments and brought in a wider view of community. And there are people who are like there's a reason that so many, like, there's a reason that there are e-girls on Twitch, is because people like looking at pretty people, and women often happen to be pretty, always, but, and so you stick that with a product, like, it's why they're booth babes, it's why they're girls that are leaned up on cars and bikinis, like, people like looking at these people. And then when you add in, you know, different
Sauce,
races,
you are very pretty.
Right, listen, Sauce in a bikini, that's what I need for Mercy Road 5, but you know, you bring in all these different races and creeds,
and there was much rejoicing,
and you're going to pull in a bigger community. And it's like, how hard is this? How hard is it to be like, because when you have a table and it's 4 white guys, you're gonna have 2 viewers, because there's so many other tables that are 4 white guys. I've talked to multiple people. I talked to multiple white dudes who are like, "Oh, I thought about starting a stream with my home game, except there are so many other streams where it's just a bunch of, like, white dudes in beards playing. So why would I join the sea of people that already look this way?"
Yeah. And So, real quick, Stephen Joyce says, yeah, in CSGO and Valorant, the women, Redis Femme, non-binary trans teams have been bringing in a ton of new viewers and players. Candace says, everyone in bikinis would definitely raise a ton of dough for Mercy Road.
Right.
Mercy Road 5, bikinis and bugbears. I am so into it.
Well, now we know what's happening next year.
Well, and beyond that, too, like, as we've talked about several times, I am attempting to learn Pathfinder 2e. I've played it. I don't know it well enough to run. And while I have the books, I don't learn TTRPGs very well from reading the books. I learn TTRPGs by watching people play them. And I'm like, okay, Pathfinder 2e. What is a good Pathfinder 2e stream that I can watch? And it can't all be white dudes. Or it can't even all be white dudes and white chicks, because I kind of know what's going to happen in those stories, you know? There's a limited point of view. Like, I like to think that I can tell some pretty fun and interesting stories, but they're all from a world that I understand, or a worldview I think I understand. And one of the worst things you can do is try and tell a story from a worldview that you think you understand. Because I promise you, you're gonna fuck something up and it's gonna be bad. So if you want to tell a story, like, there's nothing, again, especially if you're GMing, there is nothing wrong with being like, when I had Candace at my table, I want to tell stories that make Candace feel included and seen and like they are not the only black person in my world in this setting. And to do that, I have to play characters who are not my race. And I try to do it respectfully, but I also let Candace lead. And I talk with Candace about these things, and I want to make sure that I learn as much as I can so that I can be genuine and respectful, because this is a gift that Candace is giving me, a look into the world from their point of view. When David and I talk about things, and David talks about race, it is a gift. I get to learn things from perspectives and understand things that I, as a white person, can never truly experience. And I recognize that as a gift, and I try to respect that. I'm trying to catch up on chat now. How to get a beach bod. Take your bod and put it on a beach.
Jen says, I think there needs to be a convo about home games and not home games. So I feel like I'm one of the better people to talk about this, because I work in production of streams and have been on streams and have run and will run home games. And there is a huge difference between a home game and a stream game. For one is a performance, and the other is, you know, you and your people sitting around having a good time. And very rarely is there a whole lot of overlap. Like, the Critical Role people can pull that off, because like we've said on the channel before, like Kay has said multiple times, they are all professional actors. Mm-hmm. They all have years and years and years of experience of performing. And, you know, they brought that...
in groups, and performing with each other, and improving together. It's a skill set.
And they brought all of that experience and all of that chemistry to their home game, not the other way around. And there are too many people, and I've clicked on the streams, and I've watched, I've you know, done 5-minute stretches, because, you know, I check out people and I'm like, what are they doing that I can learn from? Also, you know, what are they doing that's better than what I do? What can I learn watching these other people? And in a lot of instances, it's people who are like, there's a camera in the room while we play our home game. And there's this looseness and this lack of cohesion and this lack of direction that is perfectly fine in home games that you can't have on a streamed game. If nothing else, you can't sit there and crunch on an entire bag of chips and pretzels and just nom 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 eating
Crinkle,
like Sour
crinkle,
Patch
bag,
Kids.
crinkle, crinkle.
Right. Like, you can't do that on a stream. Have I seen that on a stream? Absolutely. Does everyone do that in a home game? Listen, if you don't have snacks at your home game, go get snacks. Bring them to your next home game.
Home games coming to a stream is kind of like karaoke. If you're at a karaoke bar and you are singing, you don't have to be good, right? Because you're all... Now look, I think karaoke is terrible. There's no such thing as good karaoke. It is all bad and terrible and painful, and I hate it. If you like it, I am so glad you like it. Please go out and have all the fun and do all the karaoke. Just please don't invite me. That's all I ask. But if you're... Most people who are not me are at a karaoke bar. You're in the moment. You're having fun. You're there, and that's all that matters, right? It is a mood. It is a feel. A karaoke bar full of professional singers is going to be a very different thing. If you walked in... So one of my good friends, Guy, works at Planet Rose, which is the karaoke place in New York. And when the Critical Role people came to town for New York Comic Con, they went and sang at Planet Rose. One night when he was working, all of the backup singers for all the backup performers for all the Broadway musicals came in and were singing karaoke. And that was a performance, right? You could walk into karaoke that night and be like, this karaoke is incredible. We should stream our home karaoke because it will be as good as this. No! Those are professionals. Their goofing around is going to be a higher quality than the rest of us just grabbing a mic and singing. And D&D home games can be very much the same way. You might have that one song that hits perfect. You might have that one game that's great, but...
I went to karaoke in Burbank. Now, for people, so New York is known as the theater town. What people don't know is that there are more stage productions in Los Angeles than New York every year. There are also more incorporated bands in Los Angeles than in any other city on Earth. And a lot of the 2-bit rundown theaters where the musical theater people show up, where you could see excellent theater with 3 people in the building, are in Burbank and Hollywood and North Hollywood and surrounding area. So when I went with a band with the lead singer and his girlfriend, who was also a lead singer for another band, to karaoke in Burbank, and everybody started high-fiving each other because all the musical theater people were there. When someone looked at me and were like, David, do you want to get up on a mic? No, David doesn't want to get up on the mic.
But, finish your thought.
But that doesn't mean that we're gatekeeping performance. We're not gatekeep. If you want to stream, go do it. Because there are people who are better than you who will have less success than... It doesn't matter if you're trying to stream D&D. It doesn't matter if you're looking to switch careers, if you're doing art, whatever thing you want to do, go out and do it, because someone who's worse at it already has the success you're looking for. But
here's a quick aside. If you want to do a stream game before you, or a podcast or whatever, D&D, think about your marketing before you even think about the game, because that is... And again, if you want something cohesive, you're going to have to put some limits on your people. Candace will tell you, Youngles will tell you, Gut Plane, we had some pretty, tight, hey, we are going, like, this is going to be your last chance for a little while to have a heart-to-heart. So if you want to have a heart-to-heart, if you want to do some serious RP, now's the time, because stuff's going to start moving fast. Like, you got to start having those conversations, which don't happen in home games. Sorry, David. Continue.
But whatever it is that you want to set out to do, however good at it you are right now, you can be better, and you should be better. So work on it. Work on your craft. And I'm not one of those like grind set people, because let's face it, our society depletes us. But if you want to be a better writer, go write. If you want to play a musical instrument better, go play it more. If you want to be a TTRPG performer and you want to host games, then look into the parts that you need to do in order to present a great product. Like, Kay and I talk about this all the time, because Kay is the production genius between the two of us. Like, I'm like, Kay, what's an OBS? Kay, how do these things happen? And Kay is like, okay, I have to stop and pour a drink and grab my crayons so I can explain this to you. But
honestly, it's bubblegum and luck mostly, especially where audio is concerned.
I mean, sometimes it'd be that way. But like, Kay has gone out and taken acting classes. I have not only taken acting classes, but at one point was a professional actor. Like, there are people who are on streams, including everyone that Kay and I drag in front of a camera, that are better performers than me, and I'm a professional actor. So if you want to come and fight in the big leagues, if you want to fight with the heavyweights, then you got to train like Tyson.
Mm-hmm. And here's the other thing, and this may be, I believe this is kind of more what Youngles was talking about. Could be wrong. But there are things that you can, with consent and with everyone being on board for the emotional labor of it, explore in home games that you really shouldn't explore in a streamed game. I've given this example a couple times now. When I play Roxy in our home game, Roxy is, half orc. It's definitely coded as half black, because David has taken on the emotional labor to educate me. And again, it's David has built a low magic world where 90% of the population is human. I am actually, everyone in the game, we've got one human in our party, we've got a dwarf and an elf, and I'm the only half. So there's been a lot of, it's weird to say, I don't want to say there's been a lot of learning, because I've definitely done my best to do my own research and to come into things knowledgeable and to talk to people and to think about experiences that people have shared with me. But there was still a moment where there was this one woman, one NPC that we were talking to, and she was helping Roxy learn how to make poultices and medicines and herbs. And at one point, after, having a good relationship, we all sat down around the fire, and she said something about, she said something shitty about orcs. I don't remember exactly what it was. And Roxy, being the sweet little innocent flower, was like, I'm only half. And she looked at her and goes, well, that's a nice trick. I just remember being like, but you were nice. This is people's every day. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, it was just, it hit, I knew it, but in that moment, it hit me in a different way. And while I do play Roxy on streams, it's a different background, right? It is definitely not the same. So that is, I think, a very important element of streamed games, which is like, don't go out there exploring things that you don't know particularly well, or if you are exploring those things, talk with your players, talk about consent, talk about lines and veils. For Godplane, every character had a specific trial that I specifically wrote for that character incorporating what I know of not only the character but the player. And we had very clear guardrails and very clear nope panic buttons to get the player out of there in case I made them uncomfortable, I went too far, or I messed up. And it would have been hit the BRB screen, no questions asked. What do you need to do? Are we done for the night? If that had happened. And those are the risks you take when you do a streamed game that pushes limits. And those limits don't have to be horror. They can just be, okay, we're doing a thing that involves fantasy race. And we're leaning hard into fantasy racism because this is a thing that everyone's comfortable to explore. Well, sometimes fantasy is not as fantasy as we think it is when it starts coming at us in real time.
And one last comment about people running home games and wanting to bring those games to stream. One thing that we've kind of like left out is the fact that I'm not going to say most, I'm not even going to say half, but a significant enough number whereby it gives me pause of home games has someone shitty at the table. And maybe, just maybe, you don't want to put them in front of a camera. And so it's important to give yourself the leeway to curate your performers. Like, Kay and I have talks about this all the time, and we're really, really, really fortunate that. So first off, we only recruit the best. Like, we get some world-class great performers.
We have been so fortunate that the most amazing people give us the time of day.
And we're doubly lucky because they're also great people. Like, there's no one we've played with where I'm like, you know what? I would fist fight this person in real life. No one. And having watched other games, both and like seen home games and watched a lot of stream games, I think we're really fortunate there. But when it comes to you know, trying to elevate your home game into a stream game, if you don't have the flexibility to say, I don't want this person at my table, then you really gotta like give some pause to you know, what you were doing.
And you know, the problem with those people is you never know when they're going to go off. Youngle says, yeah, that's also so important. I had someone ask me to join their All Monks homebrew game that tried to basically be Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and it was horrible.
So I've given a lot of thought to the monk class, because like it's very much coded like Chinese Shaolin monk, and I keep thinking about that, and I'm like, that's problematic. But also, I want to be in a position where, you know, I don't want to say no monks allowed, and I don't want to say I'll never play a monk. And so I've given a lot of thought to how you could approach the monk class without being really racist about it. And like, I would love to do like Oops All Monks, but the caveat being none of the monks are coded Asian.
So again, with wizards and a case of doing potentially the bare minimum, they have said that they are in 1 D&D, they are reworking. They're not reworking the monk class. They are working to make the monk class less Asian coded, and they are no longer going to have key points. They have spirit points now. And again, it's like,
you know, dear wizards of the coast. Right.
Friar Tuck monk. Yes.
Candace says, wait, can one be a Friar Tuck type monk in that class? Because like you go back and you watch like the 60s animated Robin Hood, which birthed many a furry. Let's be real.
Oh yes. That was furry entrance material. And
like Friar Tuck absolutely threw down with a walking stick. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't a bow. It wasn't like, you know, anything like Asian coded. He was just like, I need this stick to prop me up. Also, I will cave your head in with this thing.
I want to be one of the monks from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where I have to chant and then slam a board into my forehead to cast a spell.
Right.
Domineus Requiem.
Right. Like there's so many different directions you can go with it and make it hilarious and make it engaging and make it not racist without
but spirit points instead of key.
That's something I'm gonna have to give some thought to.
I've watched a lot of Monty Python.
But like monks aren't like purely the domain of, you know, the Chinese. Like it's not purely an Asian thing. Like many of the pretty good recipes for beer we have come from Western European monks. You know, there are plenty of like bad horror movies set in a monastery in Eastern Europe. Yeah, like there's just a lot of different directions you could go, and it's like, dear Wizards of the Coast, you know there's a problem. All you got to do is just throw in a bunch of like new backgrounds, and then make the Asian monk one of the backgrounds, and then it's going to be way less problematic.
I did for a one-shot play. It was a modern setting. Dungeon crawl, and I played a tabaxi monk who was a former internet famous cat, and he was known for wearing he was the cat with the froggy hat, and he loved being the center of attention. But then they adopted a new little kitten when he was like getting older or middle-aged and no longer as cute. And he smacked the shit out of his new little sister on camera, so everyone hated him. So he was cursed to be a tabaxi and had to, like, fight to go back to be a regular cat. Instead of getting your spirit points, it's blood alcohol level. Yes, JD! But yes, David, we have been at this for almost 2 hours.
Yeah, we've been at this for a while.
We should probably look at wrapping it up. I did not expect to get onto Friar Tuck monk class today, but I'm so glad we got here. We'll call them punchy points in my game. Yes, I want to play Dungeon Roombas and punchy points. This is all we need. Rex says, historically, problem child people would get sent by the family to remote monastery nunneries, so rich kid background, off to the church with you.
So I'm thinking, would focus points work?
Be fun. Like, and that's fun too, because it opens up a lot of different, because like paladins get to channel divinity. So if you go the more religious side, it's almost like a channel divinity. I can focus my god's attention this way. If you go more, I am just a complete physical badass. And my powers are just that I have honed my body to be a weapon. It is the focus on my own body to let myself, how many times can I push my body to defy nature? Or a criminal running from their past, or just call them maneuvers. Oh.
Yeah, historically, Fun fact, Rex, a nunnery is not a convent. So when you hear in, I believe it's Hamlet, when he tells his mom,
Get thee to a nunnery.
He's not telling her to become a nun. He's telling her to, I'm completely browned out. But, he's telling her to go be a working girl. He's telling her to go be a strawberry, which is a very old-timey way to refer to a woman of that profession.
Yes, because the church used to fund ladies of the night. Because, it's fine if you do it for God.
I have so many things to say about that I'm not going to say on stream.
But I'm going to get a wall of text after.
Yep.
All right. Thank you all. We are probably going to start wrapping up. If you have any last minute commentary, now is the time to heck do it. Thank you all so much for hanging out. We had so many people today, and my chat, I need to get a better chat bot because I need it to be like, here's all the people who hung out in your stream, and mine currently does not do that. Also, congratulations, Saucefire. I had not realized that the campaign was up over $5,550. Last I checked, it was $5,300. So, heck yeah. Thank you, David from Afar Pod. Thank you, Stephen Joyce. Thank you, Sauce, for being a complete menace while we're trying to have serious conversations. You're the best. Candace, Rex, Jester, who has wandered away, and rightly so. JD, who else did I miss? There were Youngles. We had David earlier and now back. This has been so much fun. We went so much longer than I thought. No, you, Sauce. As I said before, I'm Kay. Find me every other Wednesday on the Emergency of Power podcast. Find David and I here on Tuesdays to talk about this thing that we're doing. Find me here on Thursdays playing video games, like you do. And, hold on. Here we go. If you want to hang out, come join the Chaotic Wholesome Discord. We're working a project. We've got a spreadsheet up where we're asking people to, give your thoughts about what you think not the alignment, but we're playing around. I had already been planning to do this, and then D&D said, hey, we're breaking all of the spells into Primal, Arcane, and Divine. And I'm like, before that, I was like, hey, David, I want to set up a system of Nature, Arcane, and Extraplanar. And I'm like, oh, cats. So we're playing around with different monsters and species and who falls into what. No wrong answers, just vibes. And we're working on a project. And if you are interested in helping build something that will be streamed here, we got stuff coming. That's the place to do. Jareth is yelling at me. So, David, who are you and what are we doing here?
Hi, I'm David. Welcome to the end of today's episode of the Chaotic Wholesome talk show, where every week we talk about TTRPG stuff, how to be a better player, how to be a better GM, all with a focus on inclusion and intersectionality. Ooh-wee, I got there.
Thank you, David, for hanging out, even though you're sick. We got troopers.
Always. Was that?
Chris is here just as we're ending.
Aw. But hi. Also bye.
Oh, I can't type. David, Xander or Platonic? Who are we seeing today?
Platonic.
Platonic. Awesome, y'all. Thank you again for hanging out. Y'all are the best. Be good to yourself. Be excellent to others. And we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.